Okay, so we've got kind of a unique class today. We're looking at PFT 100 here, day 2. This is going to cover cover letters. So today's lesson is a little unique. We are not really talking too much about like the personal training industry necessarily. I mean, obviously, it's not like we're not going to. Really what we're talking about is like one of the normal skills that you want to have for how to apply for jobs when you're trying to get picked up. So this is kind of a unique lesson compared to some of our other lectures. Just like tomorrow, we're going to talk about resumes, and that's kind of unique compared to a lot of our other stuff. But we're going to be looking at sort of like how to craft like what a cover letter, how to craft an effective cover letter, what a cover letter is. And then we'll talk about a couple of the key points that you want to always keep in mind when it comes to like, writing these things. And really that is sort of like your biggest guide point. I mean, a lot of times what you'll end up doing is, you'll probably get on the internet and go personal trainer, cover letter example. And, look up, and there's a million examples out there of like personal trainers who have written cover letters, and there are little things like this where it's like, hi, I'm writing you to show interest in this, and here's my qualifications, I've done this and this and this, and you put your name at the bottom and send it in. Now, that's a physical cover letter, which we are going to write, and we're going to put emphasis on making sure that we write a well-formatted, good-looking cover letter. But to be honest, a lot of times in today's world, your cover letters are often an email or uploaded to like a job application website. But it is always handy to actually still write like a physical cover letter. Like one of the things that I think people appreciate, like when I'm applying for jobs, is I will often like email back and forth with the person that I'm applying with. And obviously I'll write that in a very standard like email format, paragraphs and stuff like that. Salutation at the top, like hello, but I will say, hey, I've attached my resume and my cover letter. And so my cover letter will be like a very, very formal letter that is sort of like you would see in a traditional like mail-in setting. And, if they were to print it, it would look like a letter. So that's sort of something that we want to talk about, like how to actually craft those. So I know today's kind of a unique one. We're not talking about squats today or push-ups or bench presses or anything like that. We're sort of looking at the other aspect of it of like, if you want to work in this industry, you got to get a job. And so the cover letter is all about like your first point of contact to get that job. So get psyched. So our learning objectives today, we want to talk about like what a cover letter is so that we can understand it. We'll talk a little bit about a reference request letter as well, which is really just a cover letter. I have never really written a formal version of one of those. I've never really had to. Generally, if I'm going to use someone as a reference, I have a pretty good personal relationship with them. But a reference request letter is like if you work in a place and you have like some contact with an authority, a higher up manager or something like that, but you're not like really that close with them, you can write them a letter saying like, hey, I'd like to, would you be a reference for me? I'm applying for a job elsewhere, so you can do that. Like I said, I've actually never written one of those very formally before myself. Job acceptance letters, if you end up writing one of those, again, usually that's in today's world in the form of like an email. Job declination letters, which, if you get 2 job offers and you're gonna like, well, I'm gonna take the better one. That's awesome. You really do kind of want to write like a nice letter to one company. That way you never burn that bridge, and who knows, maybe that job that you just started, you end up disliking it, and then you're like, oh, actually I want to go back to the other place. Well, if you wrote like a very formal, nice declination letter, that shows that you're very professional, and they're gonna be like, okay, well, even though you said no the first time, yeah, I still want to hire you. You're clearly very professional. And a resignation letter, we'll talk very briefly about those. Resignation letters are usually just a couple sentences where it's like, hello, this is a formal resignation letter to inform you that I intend to put in my 2 notice. It's November 23rd. My last day of work will be on December 7th, and something like that. And that's just kind of your classic resignation letter. Oh, and really quickly, I do want to make one little just side note before we get started. These PowerPoints are actually, I mean, they were written by, like, NASM is the one who sent us these materials. It seems to me, like, whenever I teach this class, it seems to me like they are actually teaching out of a textbook. Like, I think they wrote this off of a textbook, which I'm assuming is for one of their like larger like college courses. We don't have that textbook. Like, they didn't, send us those materials. I'm not even sure what book it would be. But every now and then you'll hear them refer to, and that's the thing, like, when this textbook is for jobs in the leisure industry. So like the resort, like, I don't know, like tour guide, tourism resort kind of style industry, which is similar to personal training, but like, I'm sure there's no textbook out there. Our industry is such a like niche industry. I don't think there's an official like personal training cover letter, resume, professional development textbook class. So sometimes you'll hear them refer to, like, when working in the leisure industry, or like they'll use some terms every now and then that I'll kind of help you guide through that are just a little odd compared to the perspective you think you would hear. You don't hear them use the word personal trainer that often, for instance. So anyway, I just want to put a little note ahead of time for that. So you'll see here cover letters, what a cover letter is, right? It'll say it's mandatory to submit a cover letter in the recreation and leisure business. Yeah, recreation, that's the term I was looking for. So rec and leisure business. Like mandatory, yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily 100% mandatory, but it increases your chances because then suddenly you're the more professional one, applying for this. Applications without a cover letter, the big issue there is that it shows like a lack of professionalism, and in our industry, like, what makes a good trainer isn't necessarily somebody who, is the world's greatest writer or anything like that, but like putting the effort into to make these cover letters is just a really great way to start off on the right foot, like me, for instance. I actually pay a lot when I was hiring, Sochi instructors and things like that. I always paid a lot of attention to resumes and cover letters. And I wouldn't even necessarily care too much about like grammatically how they would like say sentences or anything like that. And this is maybe just the millennial in me, but like what I cared about was just seeing the fact that they knew how to format something in Microsoft Word. I was like, you got to teach PowerPoint lectures like in class. Like, you have to, grade students' homeworks. I need you to know how to navigate the server to like find files to teach class. Like, I don't want to hire someone and be your IT guy all the time as your manager, who's like coming in and being like, yeah, no, you got to click the start menu and go here. I was looking for a well-formatted cover letter so that I just knew that this person knew how to like use a little bit of technology. I wasn't that snotty about it, but it was definitely something that like I paid attention to. So cover letters are a great way to kind of just like elevate your status and show that you are more professional than anybody else who's applying. So it is your first point of contact for a job application. That sentence is important, hint, hint, which acts as a great way to open up dialogue with potential employers. So the idea here is that, like, even if you don't even necessarily find a job that is actually hiring, you can apply. You can send a cover letter and you might impress them so much that they decide to hire you. I did that once. I actually just sent, I was moving back from LA, moving back to Oregon for a little while. I moved back for like 10 months, like a year long, yeah, about a year. And I was like looking in Portland. I was like, what's the nicest gym that I can sort of go to? And this one that I found was called Stafford Hills Athletic Club, which is a big fancy club outside of Portland in Tualatin. Big tennis facility. It's $1 billion a month. And I was like, great, that's where I'm gonna go and teach and stuff. This is where I was telling you guys I did the techno gym equipment, right? So you can see they're like, get the app. They're all about tech. They love their Techno Gym stuff there. So anyway, like I was, you know, I wanted to work in a place like this because I was like, that'll be great. I'll be able to, you know, make a really good paycheck and this and that. And, you know, it'll be kind of a luxury setting, which I've, you know, somewhat worked in before. And so I just sent a random cover letter, you know, emailed, I looked on their website. I looked on their website. Oh, that's not the right. And let's see, I went to their contact page. Or did I go to personal training? Fitness. Oh, their website sucks. They changed their website. You can see like this is, speaking of like technology, here's a really good example of stuff that drives me crazy. This should not scroll down below. That was the guy who hired me, by the way. That's my old boss. This should not scroll here. This should scroll the whole thing. So if this person who built this resume applied a job for me, I would be like, I don't know. I don't think you know how to do your job very well. That's part of the reason why we wrote a cover letter, so that we look like we know what we're doing. And there's my old manager, Ryan. That guy right there, this was like my actual manager. The other guy who hired me is the son of the two parents who like own this place. And Ryan was a question talker. This guy right here, he would do this thing where he would like, when he was like training me, he'd be like, so we're gonna do like things like this, and he'd go, now do I think that's the best way to do things? No, I don't necessarily, but do I think that's the only way that we can do things? Yes, I do. And he would just like ask questions, and like it was this thing that was on like an episode of Scrubs, and I was like, here, literally this person from this episode of TV that I watched years ago. And she was one of my old coworkers. Jeremy Boyd, that's hilarious. That's so weird. There was a Billy Boyd who worked there, and she's gone now. That's super odd that there's somebody with the last name. Anyway, so I went here, and then, you know, you scroll over, and I'm like gonna read about their things, and it just says that he's a personal trainer. So like, I wouldn't actually say that that indicates to me, like, I know he's the fitness training manager, but like that doesn't indicate to me on their website. So instead I would keep hunting, and, you know, maybe go to like maybe there's a contact us page. Yeah, staff directory. So I'd maybe go here and scroll around, assistant general manager, and then there's Evan. So there's the general manager, right? So what I would do is then I would just like click this. Clearly the general manager is who I want to talk to, and it's going to open up my email. I'm going to draft an email and be like, hello, I, you know, was wondering if you guys would possibly be hiring. I've attached my resume and my cover letter. These sentences are not how I'd actually word it. And then I sent that off, and sure enough, Evan called me and was like, hey, you know, do you want to do an interview? And I was like, yes, but I still live in LA. Can we do like an interview over Skype? And so we did like a Skype interview, and I was like, I'm going to be flying up to the Portland area to look for apartments at this date. Can we meet then and do like a formal interview? And he was like, that sounds great. And I met there, and then that's how we got hired. So that is the purpose of cover letters. I probably spent too much time trying to navigate that website. But that's sort of how a cover letter actually works. Do you guys have any questions on that before we dive into how to write these things? You guys feeling good about this? Cool. And it doesn't have to go that way, by the way. You can always, like, you know, see a job application, and then you'll upload your cover letter on that as well. That's also always an option. But that's like an example of like what I did that was like what's called a prospective letter. I was digging, I prospected. So like I said, applications without cover letters, they show like a little bit of like lack of professionalism. So types of cover letters you've got, there's the application letter, you know, that's about a known job opening. That's your traditional cover letter, right? Like, hey, we're hiring, and you're like, great, hire me. And they're gonna go, why? You know, because of this letter. Then there's also the prospective letter, which is sort of what I just described. That's like where, you know, we just watched that video on Friday right? You could totally do the same thing. Los Angeles Athletic Club, right? Go to their website, probably the About Them section, maybe. Go to their website, navigate it, and find, it's probably down here actually. Oh, there's a jobs section, right? Let's check out this jobs section and see if there's anything that's currently hiring right now. Okay, I'm assuming there would be stuff here. I think that it would be this. Yeah. No, okay. So, all right, well, anyway, we would navigate and find, do the exact same thing. Navigate, hit the contact button. Maybe even if it is just like laac.net, which is going to somebody probably at the front desk, they're going to forward that to the appropriate department head, So a prospective letter would be like, I want a job at the LA Athletic Club. I'm a great trainer. I just came out of school, blah, 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 blah. There's also a networking letter. Networking letter is information and assistance about like, actually job hunting. So a networking letter is a little bit different because maybe it's not necessarily like a job that you're hunting for or applying for or trying to get in touch with someone about. Maybe it's something else. So this is like, I was telling you guys, Sine, right? She was an ex-student of mine who was in class and wanted to start like her clothing line on Instagram, and like, the minute she graduated, she was planning like when she graduated to get that all off the ground. And she was like, hey, I want to write a letter to this lady whose designs, their art is really, really nice, and I want to put it on like my clothing brand. And I was like, okay, great. And she was like, can I write like a networking letter? And I was like, yeah, of course. And so we worked on it as a class, and we helped her out and stuff. And so like we were able to kind of put that all together. And sure enough, like that artist was more than willing to like partner up. I'm not sure like what the deal ended up being, like how much of a cut or anything like that she took, but that is sort of how she kind of put her clothing line together. General tips when it comes to writing a cover letter here really quick. These are all rules that you kind of want to follow and just kind of keep them in your head. So the more that you can keep these in your head and just remember them as you are writing your cover letter, the better, right? So number one, always keep your cover letter to one page. Like, don't get me wrong, this document is important and I want you to put the work in to get it done. But no one wants to read a cover letter that's 20 freaking pages, right? Like, so keep it short, keep it simple, keep it one page. Always, if you can, address it to a very specific person. That is not necessarily the most important thing in the world because it's about like putting that person's name on there. What's important is that it shows, holy crap, this person's smart. They're like a sniper. They were able to like figure out like who the manager is here and who to apply for. So like you can learn like who's the general manager, who's the training manager, or anything like that, and like address that cover letter to specifically that person. It just shows that you know how to do your due diligence and research and like get to the heart of like who it is you're writing the letter to. Do not send out mass letters. That's a really classic mistake. Don't get me wrong, we are making a cover letter in this class, and like you guys are gonna have a format that you can kind of use, but you should always be adjusting and changing your format of your cover letter consistently so that it is, specific to the job that you are applying for. Don't just create like a cover letter and be like, hello world, my name is so-and-so, and I think I would be a great trainer. Like you don't want to just create some random letter that, everyone's seen before. Don't send a picture. I know it's LA, but we're not actors. Don't get too personal. Now that one is true. Like obviously you don't want to, get crazy personal or anything like that. However, I will say if you have a super awesome personal story of something where it's something like, I've been on my own weight loss journey. I want to be a personal trainer at your gym because it looks like you really tend to help people a lot. And I've been on my own fitness journey for several years now. if you say something like that, that's actually great. Like if you're like, I used to be 250 pounds and I, slimmed down and now I'm healthy and athletic and I want to help others do that as well. That kind of personal is great. But don't get crazy personal. Be like, my grandmother, when I was 3 years old, told me, you're going to be the best trainer, like something like that. I don't know. It's kind of a fine line. I think using like an inspiring example of like you overcoming, like working in on your own training or your own athleticism, anything like that. If you talk about how like you used to be like a semi-pro athlete or anything like that, that kind of personal is great. But yeah, don't get like super personal. Like my mom once told me that it's like, no, get that out of there. Always emphasize your top selling points. I can already tell you guys, everybody in Sochi, education. You're coming out here way more educated than like a lot of other trainers do. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, there are people who go, to college for kinesiology or exercise science and things like that. But like the difference is like, and we've talked about this. Like I went to school for exercise science, but one of the things that kind of like attracted me to the program that I went into was it was also like exercise science is great, and that means that you in general know a lot about exercise, but it doesn't really I wasn't really taught personal training in any of my traditional college classes. It was the accelerated like NASM course that like taught me how to be a personal trainer, like how to work in gyms. Sochi is not necessarily like I taught you guys some of the basics of kinesiology, but like, we're not studying angles and torque and things like that. And because like that doesn't really come up or get applied that often in the real world, and so like, it's kind of interesting. I think that like our education is geared directly towards becoming a trainer. We talk about like how to work in the middle of your sessions rather than just only spending our time talking about ATP and repetitions and sets and things like that. Obviously, we talk about those things, but they're always from the perspective of like, how to do it in the real world. And that's something that you sometimes don't get in traditional education. So like saying that you have practical education, you have practical experience, things like that, those are very attractive in a cover letter. And that's one of the best ways to emphasize your top selling points. Not to mention there's a lot of other personal trainers out there who, they buy the NASM course off NASM's website and they do self-study, and NASM materials are probably really good, so they probably learn plenty. But you're certainly getting a lot more training than they are. So emphasize that, and the fact that you guys are walking away with your CES and your FNS. Again, that sets you 2 tiers above your standard regular old personal trainer. One thing that I haven't actually spent too much time talking about, by the way, guys, gyms pay you. I'm just going to take a little sidetrack here. Gyms pay you the more certifications you have. There's usually, I think it's most gyms cap it at 4. But for every like full-on certification you have, like you can always just recertify as a trainer by taking, little like I think that NASM calls them power packs. They're just little quizzes to be like, hey, do you still know this? But they're not actually like full-on certifications. The corrective exercise, the fitness nutrition, those are both like full-blooded, fitness certifications, right? And so because of that, you guys are usually walking away and getting hired, a notch above the base pay grade. Like 24-hour does it, Crunch definitely does it, Equinox does it. Although Equinox, I think the certifications they want are like Equinox certifications, so I'm not sure if that would bump you up a tier or not. But like, let's say you go into a place they pay 20 an hour, you get a new certification, now suddenly you start making 22 an hour. And then 24, and then 26. Like it gives you a pay bump. So anyway, don't forget that. That's another one of the reasons why like, getting certifications is better than just, recertifying for no reason. Yeah, it's more expensive, but it's an investment. All right. Anyway, circling back, emphasize those top selling points. Emphasize the fact that you guys are walking away with more of that education. Single space paragraphs, 1-inch margins. 1-inch margins is super, super important. Single spaced, I don't know. I'm not 100% sold on this. I think sometimes like a really attractive letter can have like slightly, adjusted spacing. Just little differences like this. I'm not actually, I've got a little bit of extra spacing. Do I really? Yeah, I guess so. I got a little extra spacing here, right? Hold on, get out of the way. We're moving me over here. 0, single. Oh, I guess so. That is a little bunched up. So here's like single spaced versus that little bit. I don't know. I think that like you can add a little bit of space in there. Now, I definitely wouldn't go double spaced. That is, do not do that on your cover letter. That looks super unprofessional. But you might be able to get away with like 1.5 or just like a little bit. Yeah, I don't like 1.5 either. But maybe just like a little bit of extra spacing here. You can see like, that little bit of extra makes just like a tiny, tiny, tiny difference there. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, this is just a little bunched up. Sometimes can be a little harder to read. That little bit just makes a tiny difference. But anyway, we'll talk more about that. I can help you guys with that. That's one of the that stuff like that is stuff that like you need to just kind of visualize and look at it. And that's the kind of things I want to get together and work on in person next week. So single spaced, 1-inch margins. Always hugely important here. Always put your contact info. Just get your contact info at the top, put it at the bottom. Like here, I'll show you just really quickly. I probably should have pulled this up earlier. Here is, a cover letter that I wrote as an example for class one time to Orange Theory Fitness, right? So hello, I wish to apply. And you can see like this is not single spaced. Yeah, this is doing just a little bit of extra spacing. This would be single here. It's just a little bit harder to read. So I've worked in a large range of places, blah, 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 blah. Boom, contact info. You can call me by my here, or you can email me here, right? Thank you very much. And there's my stuff. Oh, also look, there's my website and cell phone number, right? So like, again, contact info, get it on that page, make it easy for them to find you. The number one reason you're writing this darn thing, right, is to make sure that you get contacted. So definitely do that. Mention your date that it was written. It says below the return address here, but you don't necessarily have to do that in today's world. A lot of times, like, again, this is through email, so it'll have the date on there. But if you're writing a very, very traditional, like in-person, like written cover letter, yeah, you're gonna basically put the date kind of in the top left-hand margin there. We'll see an example of that here in a little bit. And then one that is so important for us, do not use acronyms, at least not until you've laid them out already. Now, when you put you are a National Academy of Sports Medicine certified trainer, you are going to put National Academy of Sports Medicine, not NASM. It just doesn't roll off the tongue. You don't want to make any assumptions. Don't get me wrong, everybody knows who NASM is if they're in the personal training industry, but you don't want to make that assumption. And then the only exception to that rule, I wouldn't write like cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Write CPR if you're putting it on there. That's not going to be on your cover letter, but when we get to resumes, no acronyms as well. CPT, certified personal trainer, if you want to put that one, I think that one's also acceptable because obviously that's like the title that you are applying for, and so your manager is also a CPT. So that one you can kind of get away with, but we like the full words. We don't like acronyms. All right, so formatting stuff. Like I said, left justify your document. single spaced, 1 inch margins. You know, don't write your letter. The only reason they're saying 1 inch margins here is because like you don't want to write so much on your letter. You're like, oh no, it isn't 1 page, and then you cheat by kind of making the margins a little smaller. It's like, there we go. If you're having that problem, make your cover letter shorter. There's too many words on it. List your return address, list your phone number, get your email. Your mailing address, sometimes you'll see on cover letters and sometimes you'll see them on resumes. I think that's really outdated. You do not have to do that anymore, especially if it makes you uncomfortable to like put your address somewhere. But what you can do always is just say the city that you're in and the zip code. That's often what I do. Actually, and LA is kind of a unique one. You can sort of fudge around with it because you can just put like Los Angeles, California, and then put your zip. If you are applying for something in the greater, like in like LA proper, like downtown, or something like somewhat nearby. So sometimes I'll actually leave that like, I'll use LA if I'm applying for something that's somewhat far away from my house. If I wanted to look a little more like, no, I'm not going to have to deal with traffic on the way to work. And I mentioned the date that your letter was written, like I said. Any comments on any of those general tips before I dive into like how to actually kind of write this stuff? Okay. So let's look at our first paragraph here. So when it comes to cover letters, this PowerPoint is using a 4-paragraph method, which I don't dislike. It's kind of won me over. I think in a lot more traditional settings, it's still very much a 3-paragraph situation. I remember taking a class, not a class in school, but I remember a class, we went over this. And it's usually a 3-paragraph thing. You have your opening paragraph, you have a middle paragraph, which is literally where you just kind of continue catering yourself. And you're like, here, first paragraph is like, hello, I'm a great trainer. Second paragraph, here's why I'm a great trainer. Third paragraph, thanks for reading. See you in the interview. Really simple. This format's going to be a little bit different. I think it's a little more modern, and I think a lot of cover letters are kind of going this route nowadays, where it's a 4-paragraph situation. The first one is literally just like, hello, I found your application on this website. And so like it's not even a paragraph, it's like a sentence, maybe 2 sentences, where you're like, I'm so-and-so, you're hiring, that's why I wrote this letter. Then you have second paragraph where you're like, I'm a great trainer. Third paragraph, I'm a really great trainer because. Fourth paragraph, thanks for reading, see you in the interview. So I do want to kind of point that out because I know sometimes people are like, wait a minute, I've been in classes like this before and it used to be 3 paragraphs. First paragraph introduces where you found the job posting. So you want to ask yourself, you want to answer these questions in this paragraph. How did you find the job posting that you're applying for? Why are you applying for this position? And you may, in this one, allude to your career goals and like what your objectives are, to get hired as a trainer, to be the best trainer ever, to, do whatever. You may allude to that, but generally, again, I think that's kind of a second paragraph situation if you're doing this 4-paragraph format here. So you can see we've got an example version that is actually not in that folder. It's in this folder. Handouts, cover letter, example. All right, so you can kind of see here's an example version that we sort of wrote here. There's a very, very traditional letter format version. This Joan Smith character is applying for a job as a certified personal trainer. That's their website, their cell phone. We did put their address. Again, you don't have to do that. You could very easily just delete that and then, have just this. But here are all the very traditional. It's like, there's what day this was applied for. So this in 2017. Oh my God. They're applying for Mr. Frank Gaines, Equinox Woodland Hills. And then there's Equinox Woodland Hills address. So this is a very, very traditional, this is the type of letter that you would send in the mail. Oh my God, I found a formatting error. No, look at that, capital I. See, that's the kind of stuff that you want to find That's been sitting there for 3 years without me noticing. That is the kind of thing you want to find before you send your letter out. So you would say, hello, I wish to apply for a position as a personal trainer within your company. I recently read your ad on Indeed.com, and I believe my experience and recently completed education make me a strong candidate, right? That's something that you guys could say because you guys are recent graduates, right? So you would say something exactly like that, right? Hello, I want to be a personal trainer. I found your ad on Indeed.com. So that's what your first paragraph is for, right? Introduce where you found the job and what job you are posting for. Those are basically your only objectives in your first paragraph, is to get that information out there and knock it out, right? Obviously you can say, you can allude to a little bit to like what your objectives are. We kind of did a little bit of that here, right? It's like, I think that my recently completed education makes me a really good candidate, right? I think that like the fact that I'm just fresh out of school, I think that makes me a great candidate for a job within your company. We have a lot of students, like I said, who go to Equinox. So, and one of the things that Equinox actually really does like is the fact that our students are really educated. They're very smart and they know like their stuff when it comes to personal training. But they like the fact that you guys are kind of green and like new to the industry. That new to the industry means that like you're very moldable, and Equinox really likes that because they have a very specific way of doing things. So because you don't have a lot of like hard opinions, like, well, I've been doing it this way for 20 years and it works for me, right? Since you don't have that, Equinox is like, that's great. That means that you'll, kind of do things our way, which is exactly what they want. So that's your first paragraph. Here are some examples, by the way. Again, just as a quick note, I want to remind you guys, this was written out of like I assume a textbook. So they don't have 2 personal training examples here, but they do have 2 first paragraph examples. So first paragraph, hello. They would definitely say their name. My outgoing personality, my finance experience, and my recently completed education, see where we got that sentence from, make me a strong candidate for a position as a financial analyst within your company, right? Or, hello, I wanted to apply for a position as a salesperson within your company. I read a recent article which highlighted your company as one of the fastest growing leaders in the business-to-business sector. I would enjoy a chance to bring my proven track record in sales to your team. I think this is too long. I think that this paragraph is a little bit too wordy and a little bit too long personally. But what I like about it is like, you can tell this is very much like, one thing that they're missing here that they definitely should have mentioned is where they found the job posting, right? This sentence should start before this. This sentence should start with like, hello, my name is blank. I found your ad blank, right? I found it on monster.com. I found it on Craigslist. My friend John told me you were hiring, right? All of those are really great openers before you get into any of this stuff. This one right here, you still have to add that as well. But this one is like, I wanted to apply for a position as a salesperson within your company, and I read about your company on what is it, some sales magazine. So like, this is very much a prospective letter. Again, you guys kind of want to know how to write those prospective letters. You may apply for a job somewhere that is not hiring. That's totally fine. Because like, if your cover letter is really, really good, it's going to catch somebody's eye. Your resume is really good. They'll call you out of sheer curiosity. Even they're like, well, we're not really hiring right now, but I read your cover letter, I read your resume, I was really impressed. Tell me about yourself. And then like, you nail it on the phone interview. They're like, you know what, why don't you come in? And they bring you in for an interview. And finally you have somebody on your side who's like, this person's a rock star. Like, I gotta hire him. I know we don't really usually have 5 trainers on staff, but like, this person rocks. Let's do it. So that is what we're gonna see here. By the way, when we were on Stafford earlier, well, how many were there? There were like 6, 7 trainers on their website. When I worked there, it was a staff of 4. I don't know. I wonder if they expanded the training department. All right, so let's take a look at the second paragraph here. So once you've got that out of the way, you know, like I said, it's really keep it really short. I want to apply for a job within your company. I think I'm a good candidate, right? And I found your ad here. So next one, second paragraph, you were going to describe your recent skills, your work experience, or your education. So like here we alluded to it, right? It's like, I have recently completed education, right? So you set yourself up to talk about it in your second paragraph. So this is where you can kind of get into your nitty gritty. I like to think of if I'm doing a 4-paragraph format, what I like to do is I like to think of the second paragraph as like what my foundation is as like someone in this industry. And I think of my third paragraph as like what makes me, Brad, like unique as a trainer and like better than everyone else. So like my foundation is like, look, I have this education just like a lot of trainers. I know how to do this just like a lot of trainers. I know how to do this and how to do this. And then that way I can kind of pivot into third paragraph and be like, here's why I'm not like a lot of other trainers. Boom, 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 right? So you can describe your recent skills, your work experiences, any of your education. So highlight any of your past work experience, right? Because that can be a really great way, you know, you want to ask yourself, how will those past experiences help you, you know, fulfill the duties within this position that you're applying for, right? So like if you're applying for a job as a group exercise instructor, you know, you can say, okay, yeah, that's a great example. Let's say you're applying for a job as a group exercise instructor, even though you have a group exercise. Hold on, let me finish this real quick. Let's say you're applying for a job as a group instructor, but you don't have a Group X certification. You can still be like, I don't have Group X. You know, you're not going to say I don't have it, but don't say that. But you can say, I recently completed education in this. I've worked with this many clients, and I used to do small group training outdoors as part of my personal training job at blah, blah, blah. Right? So you can still highlight the fact that you might pivot into this. What was your question? Go for it.
Yeah, a lot of jobs, you know what I'm saying, in the requirements that they offer, it have different wording to them. So my thing is, how would you word it to where they position is what you asking for, what they, you know what I'm saying, what makes you accept it, you know what I'm saying? Requirements, because their wording is different.
What do you mean?
Their requirements.
Yes, so they're gonna have it posted. Like, remember, this isn't a job that you are applying for based on usually like a job posting, right? What do you mean? What do you mean that the wording is different?
Like when they have a job posting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have requirements that you supposed to qualify for the position.
What if you're missing some of those requirements?
And then what if they word it different, but they not the same as the requirements that you have and then
Right.
have taken in the classes or you have earned in the past. You
Totally. Yeah.
Just copy and paste or take it.
Yeah. So let's go. Oh, actually, hold on. Sorry, I'm going to do this on an incognito tab. I do not want the internet to know that I went to Indeed.com because I will get constant ads for Indeed.com. And Indeed's ads on my YouTube page are super annoying. That's a great question, Noah. Let's take a look here. So we're going to go personal trainer, right? Virtuo personal training. We're clicking this first one. So what you're talking about is like if they have a job posting and it says personal trainer needed for a private studio, your requirements must have 1 to 3 years of personal training and or CrossFit coaching experience, preferably in a corporate gym setting. So what you want to know is like, what if you see something like this and you're like, oh, I don't have CrossFit coaching experience. I don't have 1 to 3 years experience, right? Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, something like that.
So that's okay. That is totally okay. One thing that like I'll tell you from my perspective as someone who has hired plenty of people, and like one thing I've talked to like other managers who have like hired plenty of people, no one ever perfectly fits all of these categories. I have had, like when I was hiring I will be honest, the first person I ever hired at Sochi was a nightmare and needed to be fired. That was a bad hire on my part, and that'll happen sometimes too. That's a conversation for a different time. But the second person I hired, was a little risky, which was funny because I was pretty gun shy after my first hiring experience. Like my first hiree was really bad. And I was like, wow, I suck at hiring people. I'm terrible at this. And then like I was really gun shy and nervous about hiring someone else after that. So I put down a ton of requirements. I was like, you need to know how to do this. I expect you to be good on your feet in a classroom situation. Like, boop, boop, boop. And I wrote a super crazy long requirements list. And, I got some advice from like my manager above me who was like, hey, dude, that application that you just put out there, that job posting, you're never going to find anybody who fits those requirements. Like it's you went way, she was like, I get it. You kind of screwed up on the first hire, but like those requirements, like no one out there is like that. You're looking for, 1 in a million right now. And that's not really how job applications work. And managers know that, Noel. Like, so what they'll often do is they'll put a lot of requirements up there. And if you don't necessarily fit them, they're still going to bring you in. What you want to do is you want to highlight anything that you think makes you somewhat similar to this. So if anybody in this call right now was applying for this job that we're looking at right here, right now, right? Must have 1 to 3 years of personal training or coaching experience, right? You guys don't have that, right? Like nobody in here has 1 to 3 coaching experience. You guys are still you guys are going to be recent graduates, right? But it doesn't mean that like while you're writing your cover letter, you can't highlight the things that do somewhat fit in here, right? And, and remember, job applications are a numbers game. So, I'm saying this right now, you can find a way to write a cover letter specifically for this job posting. And that may sound like a lot of work, but that's what job applications are. I mean, it involves like, rewriting your cover letter over and over and over again for all these different variations of jobs that you may be applying for. So you may not have 1 to 3 years experience, but you can say, for the last year, I have been studying personal training and working with like a large variety of like situations. I know how to work with different clientele. And this says like particularly in a corporate gym setting. What they mean by that is they're looking for somebody who's professional. They're not looking for somebody who's going to come in there with their shirt untucked. They're not looking for somebody who's coming in there, without their hair done, like those little things that just make you look more sharp and more professional. Like you're showing up 5 minutes. All your sessions are ending before your session time starts. Like they're looking for someone who's like, knows how to work in a professional setting. You guys don't have experience doing that, but like I'm pretty sure like, even as laid back as I am, we've talked plenty about being professional as a personal trainer, right? So you can totally say something like, one of the things that was heavily emphasized at my school was professionalism and how to work in a corporate gym setting. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like you're gonna use your letter to cater yourself to these jobs, and your job employers, they're gonna know that because if you only look for jobs that you are perfect for, you're never gonna be able to apply for anything, right? I'm gonna look here. I'm gonna read the rest of this real quick. I'm kind of curious. Must be willing to work at least 3 mornings per week. Adopt studio training system, growth oriented, mentored by master trainers, commission based sales, 10 to 20 hours per week. This actually has got some red flags that like normally I wouldn't apply for a job like this, based on what I can see down here in this paragraph. But it's not bad. It's but let's click this next one here. Certified personal trainers wanted for fitness on the go. They're all virtual jobs right now, which makes a lot of sense. Pays anywhere from 35 to 120 hours. This is one thing I don't get. The one thing that I wish this class had, so I'm going to talk about it right now, is also how to like spot good jobs. That's the one thing I wish I got to talk a little bit more about. With a freaking wide range like this, that is a huge red flag to me. I would not apply for a job that has a giant, massive range in terms of salary, because that means that like this is probably just not true. Why would you ever be able to make this much if you sometimes make this much? No job works that way. So that's a really, really, really big red flag. What that means is like, you're making this much per hour, but if you ever do like a really good sales commission bonus, you may make possibly that much per hour. In these super rare situations where it barely ever happens, or maybe it's like small group training and you can do that like once a week. So that's a red flag to me. I don't like it when people list salaries like that. Company dedicated to hiring lifestyles, 5 days per week, 175 trainers in 40 cities. I like that, actually. Responsibilities and duties. So Noel, stuff they're looking for, right? Understand your clients' health and fitness goals, right? You guys are going to be able to do that for sure. Design customized fitness plans. I swear that's this is Sochi land right here. Or at least this is Brad's class's Sochi land. You guys know how much I'm harping on about program design. So that, I mean, you were definitely qualified for that. Safe and effective workouts. You guys are going to be great at that. Fun and motivating fitness experience. You know, that's good. Personal trainer certification. Here's the qualifications and skills, right? You must have a current personal training certification. That's going to be your NASM, and you must have CPR. If your certification is from an online school only, you must have 1 year of working experience. That's interesting. I've never seen that on an application before. That's unique. Yeah, again, that's a red flag to me. But the rest of this is pretty good. I don't hate this. So anyway, Noel, that's going to happen. Guaranteed. You're going to run into applications where you feel like you are not a perfect fit. My short answer to you, which obviously I've been answering that question for 10 minutes now, because none of my answers are ever short. But my short answer, Noel, is apply anyways and cater yourself specifically as you can. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
You're like, yeah, man, stop talking. You answered it like 20 minutes ago. All right. Let's go ahead and get back into this second paragraph here. Or actually, we'll be moving on to the third. We're about done with this one. So describe your recent skills, describe your recent work experience, right? How can you emphasize your achievements and like problems that you've solved? This is a really good place to kind of highlight that, be like, you know, how can you emphasize like any achievements that you have? When you're at Sochi, you know, we do focus a lot on program design. We do focus a lot on understanding fitness assessments, right? The message that I think has been instilled pretty consistently since you started at Sochi is that like exercise is not built around the idea. You don't build I love that sentence that guy said in that video we watched on Friday. We don't build a trainer-centric program. We build a client-centric program, right? It's based on your needs, not on what is fun or trendy or convenient, right? So you can highlight those achievements and like those things that you learned in school. So you can see some examples here. As a recent graduate of the San Francisco School of Business, I put myself through school by working jobs in advertising, sales, and retail. I feel that these business experience would help solidify my work ethic and build on my formal education. So I actually really like this sentence. It's all about how like, you know, I recently graduated from here, and I think working for you is how I get to build on what I studied. It's like, it shows that this person's like kind of excited to work at their job, at their location specifically, because like it's how they're going to build. It's like, look, I went to school so I could work for you. You know, like it kind of shows that in that paragraph there, and I really like that. I think that's a strong sentence. That's a strong paragraph. Like, I graduated from Sochi because I wanted to learn how to work with people specifically and address any specific postural distortions that they have. And I think working at blah, blah, blah would allow me to do that. You're saying something like, I learned this and your job is what's going to allow me to do what I want to do. You're not like, I want to work for you because it'll pay my bills. Obviously, at the end of the day, that's why all of us want to, you know, kind of want to work. But like, we got into this industry as personal trainers because we wanted to help people, you know? I wish that I had my Sochi cover letter. I tried to find it the first couple of times I talked to this class, but I don't know if I didn't save it or if it's on my old hard drive or what. You know, I remember saying in my cover letter to get a job at Sochi because I didn't have any teaching experience. I had never taught in a classroom setting before, but I was like, I worked as a personal trainer for years. Then I got into group exercise, and I realized, like, group exercise is what allowed me to help a larger volume of people. The idea of, and this is totally not how I worded all of this, but this is the message that I said. The idea of working in a school where I can teach personal trainers who are then going to go out and help other people is really exciting to me, because the whole reason I wanted to work in group exercise is because that meant helping a larger volume of people rather than working just one-on-one with people. So then, like, if I can train a trainer who then goes out and trains 20 clients, that means that I'm, and I train 20 students who go out and train 400 clients, that helps me feel like I'm making a bigger impact on the world. And that's why I'm like really passionate about applying for this job. And when I went in for my interview, that was one of the things that, like, they brought up there, like, we loved this, sentence on your cover letter. We thought this was really great. And I was like, oh, cool, thanks. I'm no expert on writing cover letters at that point. It was just, that was truthful to me. That was me being personal, but still being professional, right? So here's another example. This May I will receive my bachelor's degree, again, BA, don't do that, from Highland University with a dual degree in econ and art history. I've recently completed my senior thesis exploring the development of poster art in America, for which I've been awarded academic honors. So in this second paragraph here, it's like, clearly this person's applying for like I don't know, probably like an advertising job or like a job in print or something like that. So they talk about how, like, again, they are recently educated, right? That's where you kind of want to highlight that in that second paragraph, and why they think like they would be good in this job in particular. Clearly they're talking about some poster art in America. That would make a lot of sense if you're trying to get a job as like an advertiser, right? And in America. So they're clearly talking about their education and why their education makes them good for this job. You're going to want to do the same thing. I recently completed my education at Sochi, where we focused a lot on practical training and working in like a real setting. We talked about program design. We talked about like fitness assessments, right? We talked about exercise physiology. If you guys end up finding yourself in a place like, let's say you apply for a job at like a running, like a gym that particularly focuses on like cardiovascular, like what's that place in Santa Monica? Oh, TriFit? Is that what it is? Is that it? Did I actually get that right on the first try? Need to see, that's not the logo I remember. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's those tennis courts. So this company here, TriFit, right? So they are like a tennis, like they have tennis, but their big thing, what they're actually really big on, is actually training people for triathlons. Like they do, like that's how they got started, and then they eventually just became like a full-on gym, and it looks like they're doing like yoga and TRX stuff now. They've clearly pivoted to like outdoor training. But their big thing, see this background here, was training people for triathlons. That was really like their big focus initially. So let's say you're applying for a place like that. What are you going to highlight here at Sochi, right? Robert and Irene, this is a question for you. What class are you going to talk about if you're applying for a place that's mostly focused on cardio? What's something about Sochi you're going to highlight?
The different metabolisms and, or no, not metabolisms, but like the different energy systems.
Oh, you did even better. I would have accepted metabolisms, but yeah, that's a much better answer. Yeah, nailed it, dude. You can talk about PFT 105, exercise physiology, right? You're not going to put the name on there and be like, I took PFT 105 at Sochi. Don't do that. But you're going to say, like, while in school, we studied exercise physiology and energy training systems. And then that person's going to be like, great, we want to know. So I'm going to hire somebody who knows about aerobic versus anaerobic, right? They're going to, that's perfect for somebody who's training in a triathlon, which is a very aerobic sport. So, you know, that's the kind of thing that you put in your second paragraph. You kind of start to tailor yourself to like the job and talk about your education. And then you get the third paragraph. Third paragraph is where you're going to get real specific about stuff. So, oh boy. It's so weird. I drink my coffee throughout, you know, the first half of class every day. And, you know, I always get like 3/4 of the way through it. I never get any gunk in my throat. But then I finish it, and right when I'm done, I always get gunky. All right. Thank you for bearing with me. Third paragraph. This is where you continue tailoring yourself specifically to the job. So this is where, actually, I mean, we kind of just said PFT 105 right there. That's a great way to kind of set up your foundation and say that you know a little bit about like energy systems and stuff. Third paragraph is where you can really drive the point home that you're like, look, I would be great at TriFit because, like, you are literally going to maybe, what I like to do is I like to find in the job application a sentence or two that I can kind of like latch onto and actually, what is this? That I can actually like latch onto and sort of like pull out in my own cover letter. Why is this open? There we go. So like here's G4S trainers. I don't know what this is. I don't know why people are wearing hats and badges. Private security has an immediate job opportunity for a trainer. Okay, so this is just, yeah, this is just a mistake on Indeed's part. It saw the word personal trainer and thought, security trainer. Not what we're looking for. Moving on. GeForce Enterprises. That's a 31 to 80. That's such a, I don't like these wide ranges I'm seeing today. Fitness studio, cutting edge. Oof, okay, this is rough. Here is just really quickly addressing what happens when you get a job application that looks like this, or a job posting that looks like this. This is brief. There is not much info here. The fitness studio is cutting edge. Applicants will be trained in the method. Potential for interest in so they have their own training, which is kind of cool. That means they're going to teach you their style. I don't know what this is all about. Please note you will not be considered if you fail to answer the assessment questions. That's kind of interesting. I wonder if when they say assessment questions, I don't think they mean like fitness assessments. They probably just mean like, if your client shows up late, what are you going to do? And the answer is you're going to charge them. That's kind of interesting. But then there's like no more info. They want you to have personal training, 1 year preferred. License, you have to have a personal training license. You're going to have your NASM. And that's that. I'd still apply for a job like this, but that's sparse. That does not help you out at all. Ooh, look at this one, Bay Club. This is a bougie gym here in LA. Yeah, and sure enough, there's a giant piece of application information. I find that the nicer the gym, the more intense the application always is. It's like they really, whoever's like in charge, it's like they have a department head, you know, and they write a big long job posting. That will give that time to open.
That's where I met the lifeguard when I was running on the beach, and he's just super nice. Yeah.
Yeah, Bay Club rocks. I've thought about working here before, but it's in Pacific Palisades, so I'm like, ugh. But yeah, so okay, so here's another really great one. Look at this. Under the direction of the assistant general manager of fitness. So now you know exactly who's going to be your department head, which means that I don't think the assistant general manager of fitness is probably the one who's actually hiring, but the general manager of fitness is clearly going to be the title of the person hiring. So you go on their website, you find this person, and you email them, and you address the letter to them. And then it's got all their jobs, their goals, their minimal qualifications. So here, the qualifications part. This is where I like to pull out my third paragraph nugget. So to perform this job successfully, an individual must be able to perform each primary job function satisfactorily. Again, it's not helpful. Requirements listed below are represented the skills and knowledge. So then you go down here and you see like your skills and knowledge, right? They're looking for sales and marketing, problem anticipation. That's not going to help you in a letter. Written comprehension, so the ability to read, understand, and write information. So again, this is one more reason to make sure your cover letter is banging. Computer, the ability to like maintain your records, Word, Excel, and stuff like that. That's kind of interesting, actually. I'm surprised that Word and Excel are needed in a training job, but maybe. Strong interpersonal and communication skills and excellent customer service. Those are always huge. So things like that, like I would grab onto these two sentences here, and I'd probably grab onto like the sales and marketing detail there. Yeah, I'd probably just grab onto those details, and that's how I would construct my third paragraph. This is where you are going specifically for the job. So again, first paragraph, hello, here's how I found your job, and here's the job I'm applying for. Second paragraph, here's why I'm a great trainer. Third paragraph, here's why I'm a great trainer for your job. Right? This is where you get real specific. So use the duties and requirements listed on the job posting to further elaborate on what brings you, or I'm sorry, what you would bring to the company. So this is where you get specific about like why you'd be great at that job. And how can your experience that you have help you within that company? Like Noelle, you were just talking about like, what if you don't have like all the things listed? All right, cool. What do you have? What can you highlight? You still want to apply for that job. Highlight what does make you great, right? So here are a couple examples here. I have the maturity, skills, and abilities to have a successful career as a financial analyst. I think that one sucks, actually. That is a terrible third paragraph. So don't use that as an example. At university, okay, here we go. Here's a great one though. At university, I focused my extracurricular efforts on writing and editing for the local newspaper. Subscriptions went up by 10%. So that right there, that detail at the end there, is like a highlight of like, here's again, like you're looking for someone who knows about writing and editing. And I've done that. And when I did it, sales went up, right? So you're like, I'm good at what you're looking for. And I like rocked it. I'm going to try and bring that to your job, right? How can your experience help you within their company specifically? By the way, I just want to point this out because I noticed it at the end. Trainer tiers that they're looking for, they only want ACSM, NASM, NSCA, or ACE. Remember, I've told you there's ISSA, there's NESTA, there are other personal training certifications out there. Honestly, I'm actually surprised ACE made the list, but ACE has been stepping up their game in the last few years. These are the three biggest in the industry. These are the three top tier certifications that are out there. These two are always these are the two that are always competing. If you're into like barbell stuff, NSCA is great actually. If you're into like Olympic weightlifting, these are really good. But these are the two. These two are always duking it out for the top spot in terms of the best trainer certification. And then ACE is usually the easiest one to get.
Quick question, Brad.
Yeah, please.
Go up really quick on that posting if you could.
Yeah.
It says Master, Elite, Ultimate. What is that?
So these are some things that you've seen. These are kind of getting thrown around in the last few years. This concept of a master trainer started getting thrown around like 7 or 8 years ago, and now it's kind of become this thing. So let's go to NASM's website here real quick. Actually, you know what? I'll just Google NASM Master Trainer. So each certification started offering, and I wonder if NASM was the first. I mean, they were the first I heard about it, but I don't know if that means they were actually the first. So I won't go on record and say that. But this concept of a master trainer started existing. And it was like this idea that it's like, I've been doing my 2-year recertification process a bunch of times, and I have all these specializations and this and that. And so I should be a tier above. And so they were looking for a way to distinguish between somebody who just became a personal trainer versus somebody who's been doing it for a while. And let me see what the requirements are here. You have to have your CPT. Oh, this is a bundle. Wait, that's your bundle to get it. Eligibility requirements: 3 years of training or 10 or more clients per week. Must have all the requirements before purchasing to go to the summit. CPT, CES, PES, plus one or more specialization or an approved college degree. So NASM started offering this thing where they were like, prove to us that you have this, or maybe you have also a degree and you've been working for X number of years, and you can call yourself a master trainer. And that's cool and all. I'm still a little like I could apply for this. I don't know that I ever will, because this is the first time I've really seen it on a job application, to be honest. And secondly, I'm not sure how anybody checks on stuff like this, because there's, trainers. So there's exam, NASM validate credentials. So this is what job employers will do, by the way, to make sure that you are certified. Just to address this kind of weird, Robert, I'm not going too far off your question, but I want to address kind of a weird elephant in the room that sometimes people bring up. Is they're like, hey, we talk about how important it is to be certified all the time, but couldn't you just lie? Couldn't you just put it on your resume and say you're certified? Right? Well, here's how that doesn't work. You go to NASM, every website has this, every certification has this. You go in and you punch in your name and hit search, and it shows how you are, certified in which things, right? So it shows you when your certs are current, right? So there's the one that they actually care about. Or you would give them your certificate ID, which would be, on the app, on the your hiring paperwork. You got to bring your certification in. So your new boss is gonna, search your certificate ID and see if it's actually current. And that's why they have to do that, and your stuff isn't current if your CBR card expires or whatever, So I don't know if master trainer would show up on this website or not, but that's what it is. So I've never really considered doing it personally, but what they mean is they're looking for, somebody who is certified as a master trainer. I don't know what elite or ultimate are, to be honest. I don't know those terms. I guess 2 years experience of 80 a month, and then 5 years experience of over 100 a month for 2 years. I guess what they mean is, I don't know. I've never seen these two terms here. But I've seen this one a million times. Yeah.
So does that post mean that they're only looking for masters, elite, or ultimate then?
I guess, yeah. Let me see here. Ultimate trainer certification. I kind of think that might be their own thing. No. Yeah, honestly, I'll bet you these two terms are just big club things. There's a real term. This is an actual industry term, but I think this is just they're looking for somebody. If you put on your resume and you're like, I've trained for 5 years, and I used to average 100 sessions a month for the last 2 years, working in sales here and blah, 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 blah. They're going to go, oh, well, you're going to be considered an ultimate trainer. And you're going to go, that doesn't exist, but okay, thank you. But this is a real term. This is a real term. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's wrap up this third paragraph here. So again, first paragraph, introduce yourself, where you found the job posting, what job you're applying for. Second paragraph, why you're a great trainer. Third paragraph, why you are a great trainer at the job you are applying for. And fourth paragraph, interview time. This is where you are going to, this is not even a paragraph. This is I'd love to have an interview. Here's my email. Here's my phone number. That's it. Thank you for your time. Request an interview, offer your contact information. Keep it short, keep it professional, include your cell phone, include your email, and I actually like to do this. I like to include my availability. love to do this because it shows that I think that it shows you this is like a Brad pro tip. This is not official information. This is what I like to do, but I love to tell people when I'm available for an interview. So I love to be like, I'd love to have an interview. I'm available Monday through Friday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. If you'd like to talk, my email address is this. My phone number is this. And that just shows that it's like you are very clearly in charge of your schedule. You are thinking ahead to know, like, I want you to call me, but don't call me when I'm busy, otherwise I can't answer. It shows just a little bit of forethought. And I think that's really valuable. I think that's a really valuable thing to put in your cover letter. So, like I said, request an interview, offer your contact information. I look forward to speaking with you further regarding any sales-related opportunities with Company X. I can be reached on my cell phone at blah, 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 blah. And then this one is kind of cool. This is somebody who's applying for a job in a city they don't necessarily live in. I intend to visit the Chicago area in April to prepare for my move. I'd appreciate the opportunity to meet with you. That's great, right? That totally shows like when they're going to be in the area. Again, it shows that like they're forward thinking. And I really, really, really like that. Although it should have contact info. Our example down here. I look forward to speaking with you further regarding any information. Equinox Woodland Hills, they can be reached by cell at this phone number. Right. So they just kept it really short, really, really, really simple. So, all right, let's go ahead and talk just a couple about a couple other little tiny other things. So references, if you ever decide to ask for a reference request letter, so this is usually where, and by the way, like let's say you and I didn't have like any of the people on this call. Let's say you guys and I, we didn't have like a very good relationship. Like, you know, let's say this is like a university where you're sitting in a freaking lecture hall and you're one of 150 people in a class, right? Your teacher doesn't know you that well. But you want to use them as a reference because they're a well-known teacher or professor or something. You would write like a reference request letter, be like, hi, I'm in your class. You can see my grades are pretty good. I'd like to use you as a reference because I'm applying for a job here. And that's what that is. You guys, please don't do that with me. If you want me as a reference, I love being a reference for my students. And I'm really good at it. Totally bragging right now. I will pump you up. I have mastered the art of like, it's like, they call it, it's a humble brag where you say something where it sounds like you're, being humble, but really you're bragging about how good you are at something. And that's what you do it for yourself. I'm really good at humble bragging for you guys. like one of my favorite ones is like when somebody's like, tell me about so-and-so. And I'll be like, oh yeah, well, obviously they're, super dedicated. Like as their teacher, obviously my job is to like be on top of them to make sure that they're getting their homework turned in and this and that and this and that. What they're really, really good at is like communicating like crazy. There are times where like, yeah, so-and-so didn't get their homework turned in to me on time because like, at one point they had to like go out of town for, this reason or that reason, but they're really awesome about like reaching out to me and letting me know, which made like my job easier. And so like, they're a great communicator. I love to like drop stuff like that where it's like, yeah, one time they didn't turn their homework in on time. And then the person goes, oh, this person's being brutally honest about this person for a reference letter. But then I'm like really highlighting something that you did super well. Use me as a reference. I promise you it'll go well. That's what I want my career to be, a professional reference giver.
I got another question.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, like when you build your resume, don't you need like a portfolio as far as, your certificates and your high school diploma, things like that?
You don't need to bring in your high school diploma or anything. Yes, you do want to make sure that you bring a copy of like your personal training cert and stuff like that. Once you get the job, don't bring it to your interview. When you go to an interview, by the way, you nailed it. We're going to talk about interviews and we're going to talk about resumes tomorrow. Well, we're going to talk about resumes tomorrow. Interviews on Wednesday. But when you go in, Bring a portfolio. That's brilliant. It shows that you're just a little bit more professional and that you care about like protecting your resume and stuff. So what you do is you bring in when you go in for your interview, you bring a portfolio, you have 2 copies of your resume, 1 more copy of your cover letter, and if you need it, 2 copies of your references sheet. If you did an online application and you could have printed it, try to bring in a copy of that as well. Your employer should have all of that stuff. It is really not your job to actually bring any of that again, but by bringing it and having it with you so you can whip it out, if they suddenly have like, if the general manager is there to hire you, if the training manager is there to hire you, but the general manager decides to like show up and sit in on the interview, which will happen sometimes, boom, extra resume copy, right? Extra application copy. You've got it with you. You can give it to them, and then they can both like glance at it while you're, doing your interview. And suddenly you're the person who like did their job for them. And they're like, my God, I want to hire this person. They make life easy, So yeah, no, you should totally do that. Diploma, don't worry about stuff like never bring that to an interview. But when you get hired, you'll have to bring all that in because they need copies of it for your employee file and stuff. So every employer will have like different requirements, but they'll tell you like at Sochi, they needed me to bring what I need to bring a copy of my diploma. They needed another copy of my resume for my file, I guess, which was weird. They needed my any current certifications that I had, and my CPR card and my Social Security. You always got to bring that stuff in when you get a new job. Oh, and driver's license, right? Like all the stuff but that's all like after you get hired. So reference request letter. Again, this is like, don't do this for me. Ask me if you want to shoot me a text. But in like, let's say you don't know someone that well, but you know them a little bit and you want to use them as a reference because maybe they're a big name. So make sure you provide, send them a letter like, hey, it's just like any other cover letter, right? I know you know who I am and stuff, but I wanted to use you as a reference. I'm applying for a job here. And then tell them a little bit about that job. Tell them a little bit about like, why you're applying for that job and like what the job is looking for. That way your reference actually knows, your reference like knows what you're talking about, like what to talk about like when they call, like, hey, this is a big gym. They're really big on sales. You tell me that, I'm going to talk about like what a good talker you are, what a smooth talker you are and how you're very helpful and how you care about like making sure that people are getting what they need. If you tell me that it's a place where it's like group exercise, well, then I'm going to highlight the fact it's like, oh, well, they have so much energy. They're so good at like working with people and communicating, right? All the stuff that you look for in a group exercise situation. So tell your references like what the job you're applying for is and tell them a little bit about it. So provide the idea of the position you're applying for, help them with a little bit of like communicate the information about your potential employer, provide references with a current copy of your resume. It's always a good idea to put your resume in there so that like they know what you are saying about yourself as well. And then a description and just give them a simple thank you at the end, like, thank you so much. I just had this happen last week, actually. You guys, actually, Irene, you're the only one. You're the only one in this call who's going to know who I'm talking about. But Dr. Maldonado, the woman who was at Sochi, she's applying for a job in like UC Irvine, and she sent me a letter asking. She was like, "Hey, can I use you as a reference? Can you send me a reference letter?" And I was like, "Sure." I don't know. I know the rest of you guys don't know who that is, but yeah, she asked for one just last week. So that's what your reference request letter is, or maybe it's also like a letter of recommendation. Job declination letters. Let's say you don't want the job, you applied for it, you did the interview, and then you decided you're like, you know what, I don't want this gig. Write a letter declining. That's just a really great way to make sure you don't burn that bridge. Be polite, be brief. It doesn't have to be like a full, it's not going to look like these other cover letters that we're building, right? This is usually just something that's really brief, that says, 2 paragraphs. Hi, thank you so much for the offer, but I think I'm going to go in a different direction. Thank him, thank him, and don't say like, and don't say anything derogatory like, I don't want to work for you because you have blue paint in your gym and it's hard on the eyes. After the interview, I didn't like how you asked me this question. I saw some of the clients, they weren't attractive enough. Like don't say anything weird like that. Like, don't give them really don't even give them a reason for why you're declining. Just say, I've decided to go in a different direction. Keep it really simple. So summarizing everything up before I go into a couple examples here, cover letters need to be well structured and scripted for the most part. It helps distinguish you from other people. Like that's the reason we're writing these letters, because like not everybody does. Most people are too lazy to write cover letters, which is insane to me. It does, it's an hour of your life, but it could mean the difference between getting a job and not, which is tens of hours of your life. I want the job hunting process to be over as fast as possible. I'm gonna take every advantage I can get. It's the first document that your employer is going to see. So like, this is the very first thing this is your first impression, and cover letters that are specifically written for a job and precise are always going to be better than those mass mailing, nonsense letters. Do not copy, a cover letter word for word. Even this example that we've got here, right? So here's like a different, slightly different version. This is actually like a template that you guys can use. So if we're writing a cover letter right now, right, we could say, let's see here. I'll just use myself as an example, right? I'm not going to put my street address. I'll just go, I'm in Van Nuys, California, 91401. Let me get rid of all these brackets here real quick. Phone number down because I definitely want to make sure that my employers have my phone number. And then put down my email for sure. Put down my email for sure. Right. I'm going to put today's date, 11/23/2020. And then let's say I know who I'm applying for, right? We'll say I'm applying for some guy, Bob Smith, personal training manager, Bay Club, and then, right, Bay Club, Santa Monica in Pacific Palisades, right? So Bay Club, Pacific Palisades. Oop, actually, there it was. There we go. 1733. This is going to copy the font, isn't it? Nope. Perfect. There we go. Right. So now I've got like a very traditional format there. I'm not a big fan of color on cover letter, so I'm going to change this to black. And there we go. Right. And you'll notice like this is actually double spaced here. Doesn't look bad, though. I should probably make sure that you can see that this is 1-inch margins. Right. So I would go, and I also don't like the word dear personally, because I just think it's a little too personal and kind of phony sounding. Instead I would go, hello. I honestly just really like hello. That's like my favorite like opening. I think it's just really basic and simple. And then I'm just going to apply like, this first letter, or sorry, first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, fourth paragraph situation, right? So I'd say, hello, my name is Brad Thompson, and I am applying for the position of personal trainer at Bay Club, in Pacific Palisades. I came across your ad on Indeed.com, and I think that I would be an excellent candidate for the position. There we go. Super simple, right? First paragraph done. It's literally, again, what job you're applying for, where you found the job posting. Moving on, right? Let's take a look. Let's just do a little Googling here. Personal trainer cover letter. So this is where you're going to highlight your recent skills and experience, right? That's your second paragraph. Closing my eyes and clicking randomly. Missing. Oh, no, I didn't miss. Close all this. Block that. I was very interested in joining your team. Since earning a BS in kinesiology from DEF University and IF. Okay, so first off, lots of acronyms here. IFPA, I've worked for 5 years as a personal trainer at XYZ company. I conducted one-on-one training sessions as well as cardio, weight training, and wellness programs and boot camps for up to 50 adults. Cool. So I like that. That's inspiring me. Let's write a similar sentence. So as a recent graduate of Southern California Health Institute, I have studied personal training for the last year, and I think that the skills that I learned in class will help me become an excellent personal trainer. While in school, we studied program design, fitness assessments, kinesiology, and exercise physiology. Cool. So there's like a little bit of information about like your recently completed education. Third paragraph, let's cater ourselves specifically for this job, which means actually I need to go look at a job interview or a job posting, right? So here's the Bay Club one, right? Sales and marketing, oral comprehension, written, yeah, things like that. Strong interpersonal communication skills. So at Southern California Institute, we learned a lot about hands-on personal training and how to program for many specific fitness populations. Good Lord, double after a period. Sorry. It is for this reason that I think I would be an excellent fit at Bay Club because of the interpersonal communication. So that's literally a sentence that they said here. They were looking for interpersonal communication. So I'm going to say that, right? I'm going to talk about how like I'm real good at that. It is for this reason that I think I'd be an excellent fit at Bay Club because of the interpersonal communication skills that I practiced while in school. Cool. Now I'm just going to wrap it up and get out, right? Like fourth paragraph, thank you for reading my, don't say, actually, really quickly, don't say that. Everybody says that and it's too overused. Don't say, thank you for reading my cover letter. I can be reached at so-and-so. That is not how you want to close. I'm pretty sure, actually, let's take a look at this example one. I'm confident I can help members attain and maintain. All right, that's actually not bad. Yeah, that's great. You can say thank you. Just don't say, thanks for reading my cover letter. Let's say something like, I look forward to a chance I look forward to interviewing with you. I can be reached at any time between Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. at 503-791-9453, or email at bradt@sochi.edu. Thank you. And then Brad Thompson. And now the most important thing, I would go back through all of it. Oh, actually, I'd go back through all this and proofread. Make sure I don't have any spelling errors. Make sure I don't hate any of the sentences. For instance, some of these are in bold, so I'm immediately going to undo all of that. I don't want things to be bold. I want them to all be the same. I want a little bit more space between the date and all that salutation information. I kind of don't like the spacing here, actually, so I'm probably going to take that down just a little bit. Here, this isn't terrible. I can deal with that. And too much space there, so I'm going to give it a little bit less. And there we go. There's a new cover letter. Probably not my best work. You know, we whipped that up in what, 5 minutes? But you can see, like, honestly, sometimes, like I said, I mean, the content in the cover letter is important, but sometimes the most important thing, look at how professional it looks, right? Like, that's a well-crafted looking cover letter. It's easy to read. You know, they've got all my contact information on it. If they lost my resume, but then my cover letter's still laying around, you know, they've got 2 places they can find my contact info to email me or call me or bring me in for an interview. And that's really what we're looking for there. All right, that's actually all I got for our lecture today, but I want to answer any questions that you guys have, because I know this lecture is a little bit different than some of a lot of our other ones. How do you guys feel about all this? How do you guys feel about cover letters?
With you going over it, very confident.
Well, remember, like, you know, you're gonna build one of these, and I'm gonna have you email it to yourself. You're gonna have it forever, and you just change a few key things. You know, like, let's say, actually, I'll pull it back up. Let's say I want to change this up, right? All right, we're gonna go back to Indeed.
Dr. Maldonado probably got a kick-ass recommendation from you.
Yeah, wasn't bad.
I remember when she used to sit in class for a brief moment.
It is what it is. Yeah. Good Lord. Here's an interesting one. Fitness trainers and yoga instructors to promote a new app. That's interesting. I think they're looking, this has got to be temporary. Yeah, maybe. 100 to 150 bucks an hour. This sounds like it's like an app thing. It sounds like they're probably making you make something. But let's see. All right, we're looking for multiple fitness trainers to promote a new health app. Flexible hours. Okay, that's enough information for me. So I go back here and make a new cover letter, right? I would do my research. You can see, like, here's where they are sort of talking about, like, these are the links to download the app itself. Now, if I cannot find, let's say I can't find the contact info, right? I don't know who I'm applying for, totally fine. I literally am just going to go like this. I'm just going to get rid of this section. This is still a very fine, you know, cover letter. In some ways, I actually think this looks even better, you know? But, like, that's, if you can't find your contact info for your person specifically, that's okay. You're just going to do this. But here we go. I'm applying for a person, the position of, what are they looking for? Looking for multiple fitness trainers. So I'm going to change this to fitness trainer, right? And then this is LADA, is what it's called. I'd say for LADA, actually, I guess. For LADA. I don't know a lot of means, but I would definitely learn before I would actually write a cover letter. And I would probably just get rid of this specific Palisades. This is an app, so it doesn't. I don't think it's a multiple locations situation. Came across your ad on Indeed.com. I think of it excellent. You can leave that sentence alone. That works. As a recent graduate, I've studied personal training while in school. I can leave that alone too. That sentence works for both of these applications. But here in that third paragraph, I catered myself specifically, right? So we learned a lot about hands-on training and how to program for specific populations. It does not look to me like that's what they're looking for. I think what they're looking for is like a profile for, I think these are going to be like, I don't think fitness models. I think this is like a modeling gig, if I had to assume. Oh, maybe not. Oh, no, it's like Uber for personal trainers. Okay. Never mind. In that case, I don't think this is a job. I think that this is just, they put it on Indeed because they're looking for people. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is just, a video calling. I think this is Uber for personal trainers. That's kind of cool. Well, in that case, you wouldn't need a cover letter for something like this. Which is a bummer because that ruins my example. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, they are, right? So the hands-on experience of working with specific populations is great, but then I probably add a sentence where it's like many specific populations within the fitness community, right? And that right there, like they're talking about building a community here. Yeah, what's up? Question.
What's that Uber for personal trainers thing going on? What's that about?
I don't know. It's called Lada. I don't know what it is.
Got to be a Lyft driver, Uber driver to give them a ride?
No. I just think this is a new app. This is just a new app that just is coming on the market, I think, right now. And I think it's on the Apple App Store. And what it looks like is where you match a personal trainer. I think it's like a swipe situation almost, where it's like, it looks like it's like almost Tinder for personal trainers. Like it's where a client gets on here and they're like, I'm looking for a trainer. And then they're going to browse a bunch of trainers and be like, that one, that's the one I want. Right? Like, see this one here. This is a trainer, Allison Shepard. She's 0.2 miles away. Jennifer Jones, right? Yeah, this actually does kind of look like a dating app. It's like looking for like-minded activities for conversation and fun. I don't know. Maybe this is something different. This is kind of weird. I don't know what we're looking at. I was just trying to click I was just looking for a different example so I could build two for you guys today. Anyway, we're gonna assume that it's not a dating app. And we're going to say that it's like they want trainers on their staff. So you would say something instead, like if I were reading that, it looks like they're looking for somebody who can work with lots of different people. So you would highlight the fact that like at Sochi, we touched the weight loss, we touched the sports, we touched the youth, the senior, lots of different populations, right? So specific fitness populations within the fitness community, that's a highlight, right? You're highlighting yourself for this job specifically. And this is a little thin, so I'm going to make this a little bit longer and say something like, how do I highlight even more that I like to work with lots of different people? At Southern, or I would say in school, we learned program design for senior, for everything from senior. I don't like that. We learned program design for different groups from seniors to youths, athletes to weight loss clientele. There we go, right? Now it's like, look, I've been all over the industry. So now you're just catering yourself specifically to the job. That's what your fourth paragraph is for, and then you wrap it up. I don't know if that app is, Noel. That was a new one for me. All right. So, yeah. Any other questions on cover letter stuff? God, this chair leans back a lot. Cover letter stuff.
I got 2 questions.
Yeah. What's up?
So my first question is, let's say we apply for a job through Indeed. Do we still want to send out that cover letter?
Great question. So yes and no. Usually, Indeed is like a connector, right? Like Indeed connects you to the person. So what happens is like you put your stuff up on Indeed, and then like the employer contacts you. And usually what will happen 99 out of 100 times is they'll say, the employer is going to go, hey, I kind of hate Indeed. Can you email me your resume through email? Because it's just much easier to use. Like Indeed's kind of a pain in the rear. So what you do is like when you email them, you have a copy of that resume and the cover letter that you probably wrote that you uploaded to Indeed. And that's the thing, like here. I'm gonna do that actually. I was gonna say, I was like, I'll apply for a job real quick. I don't want to do that. That would be kind of messed up. So yeah, if you so you'll put your cover letter, like there will be a space. What I recommend you guys do, write your cover letter on Word and save it so you have it, and then just copy and paste it into the Indeed little box that they have. Indeed has like a little cover letter uploader thing, just like they have a resume uploader thing. So I would do that if I were you.
So would it be better just to go directly to them and skip the third party?
If you can, yeah, I think that's great. Most people don't check their Indeed account; they check their email, right? So if you know that they're hiring, do the research and go around the back way. Like we just saw Bake Club is hiring for trainers, right? Well, Bake Club has a website. Go to the website, figure out who's hiring. Really quickly, you guys did know it did say like that it has been up on Indeed for like 60 plus days. Whenever you see that, actually I think it's at 30 plus days. Whenever you see that, sometimes certain corporate places, LA Fitness, 24-hour fitness, gyms like that, freaking Sochi does this. It's something that kind of drives me a little crazy actually. But you can pay Indeed like $5 a month or something to keep your ad just consistently running. Like if I were to log into Sochi's Indeed right now, guarantee you I'd see 50 applications that no one's checked because the ad just keeps running. So always pay attention to like when the job was posted as well. That's something that I should have talked about. That one said it was up there for 30 plus days. So who knows how long it's actually been up there. And that's where like, if you do see something like that, I'm even more likely to be like, all right, well, I'm not applying on Indeed. I'm going to go to your website and find whoever it is. I'm going to email that person directly. That's what I did at Sochi, actually, when I applied for Sochi. Although I did email the wrong person. Sometimes, your research can be wrong. I was supposed to apply with this guy named Greg, and I applied directly with Jessica, who's like the academic dean, but I didn't understand Sochi's like structure. So there are some risks involved. I don't want to make it sound like it's always going to be perfect for you, but you do your research. I'll talk more about doing research on interviews here, on resume stuff, in a couple of days. One of my favorite techniques, we'll talk more about this. I love to maybe use someone else's phone and I will call a place that I'm interviewing for and just call them and learn as much as I can about like what it's like to work there and be like, yeah, well, I was thinking about applying. Could you tell me a little bit about it? And then like, they don't know who I am. I'll use like a different name. I'll just learn as much as I can. And that way, when I go in, I just seem really insightful. Like, how did you know that's exactly what we're looking for? It's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a really good fit. But that's a conversation for another day.
For sure. And then my second question was, when it comes to writing on your cover letter and even for your letters of recommendation, you know, like you said, we're fresh out of Sochi. We don't really have too much experience in the fitness industry. Can we ask old bosses, old coworkers from a different industry for them to give us letters of recommendation, or even when we put in our cover letter, like, hey, I haven't been in the fitness industry, but I have learned these skills throughout.
Definitely. I'll talk more about that tomorrow when we get to resumes, because resume, it's like, what do you put for work experience, right? Yeah, any work experience is valuable. You just want to highlight that you're a responsible person, right? Same thing can be true about your references, you know? Like to this day, my references, I have like one of my roommates, because like, you know, not because I don't just put like a roommate, like a friend as a reference or anything, but like you know, he's the CEO of Thirst Project. Like he and I have worked together doing like charitable, you know, doing charity work here and there. And I want to highlight that. I want to tell people, you know, in my interviews that I do charity work, because it makes me look good and it is something where I've been responsible, you know? So yeah, you can absolutely highlight stuff like that. That's great, actually. Nothing wrong with that at all.
What about you was like an alumni football player, athlete?
In our industry, that's actually relevant. I will say, like you can use like if you use like one of your coaches as a reference, for instance, I think that's great. And saying that you were like played in like a specific league, that's great. I would stay away from things like not pickup games, but like rec leagues and stuff like that. I wouldn't put that on there, unless you just have it on like your interests, you know. Um, but yeah, no, that's actually pretty common in our industry. People will put like athletic feats. I had a guy one time, and like it did not. I didn't think it was something you should put on a resume, but this guy put it on his resume that he like deadlifted X number of pounds. I wouldn't do stuff like that, but there was a part of me when I looked at his resume and I was like, that's bold. Like that's a pretty bold, you know, thing to put on a resume. um, and you know, our industry, it is, you know, obviously what he's trying to highlight there is like anybody who can deadlift that much weight clearly knows how to do it properly. Which means he's probably good at coaching that, which is great. But yeah, you can put stuff like that. You just want to make sure you take the right approach with it. Any other questions? This is good. We got a good Q&A going here. Yeah, what's up?
Brad, just on the paragraphs. Okay, so the second paragraph is like basically why, and then the third is why you are a perfect candidate for the job. Can you intertwine those two together, like as
sure.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Well, I honestly, the only reason you have like the you know, we're putting it as notes and stuff. We're putting it in like the PowerPoint, so it sounds like it's like black and white rules. All of this has like shades of gray. So if you find that like your letter just doesn't flow, if you're like, I don't know, it's weird that I talked about this here, but I feel like I didn't say this first, you can totally blend them together a little bit. That's totally fine. It's just when it's like stated this way, it just kind of gives you a very clear outline to follow. It's a little easier to compartmentalize the info. Yeah, again, right, what job you're applying for, why you're a great trainer, why you're a great trainer for the job you're applying for. Thanks. Those are your four. Like I said, that's a 4-paragraph format. A lot of back in the day, it used to be 3 paragraphs. So it's pretty standard. So your why you're a great trainer and your why you're a great trainer for the job you're applying for, that all did used to be 1 paragraph. So yeah, Irene, if you want to do that, there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine.
Okay, but yeah, I thank you for the clear outlines. That makes it nice and clear.
Well, good
to have that base. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like I said. Clearly NASM's getting this stuff out of a book somewhere. I don't know what book it's coming from or anything, but yeah, clear is always helpful. All right, ladies and gents, I'm gonna kick y'all out of here, and I'll see you guys either tonight or tomorrow.
I got one.
Oh, you got one.
I got one more question. It just hit me.
Yeah.
I know this kind of defeats the purpose of the class, but has there ever been a situation that you may have experienced or anything like that, where a cover letter wasn't even necessary?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I can't say that that's, yeah, of course. You know, trying to think if it ever happened to me. I have always written a cover letter for every job. Yeah. I'm like, I can't think of a time I've never written a cover letter, but it would be crazy to say that like it doesn't exist, that there's not a moment, you know? So of course there are times where you don't have to, yeah, I'm sure they're out there. I've written a cover letter for every job I've ever applied for. Yeah, I'm making sure that I'm not lying. I'm like, I have, haven't I? Maybe not. You know what? I had a job at Best Buy for a little while when I worked on the Geek Squad. Probably not that one. I just like walked in and applied. But yeah, of course, there's got to be something out there, right? Usually probably like a referral. All right, guys. So tomorrow we'll do resumes. And yeah, we'll go over how to get your resume all formatted and stuff. We'll look at a bunch of different fun formats and how to kind of put it all together. And that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you, bro.
All right. See ya.
All right. See you, Brad.
See you guys.
All right, what?
What's that, Noel?
That's